Top of the morning, Sonoma County. And to all the ladies and gentlemen out there, a hearty and healthy Irish hello. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. I had to think about that for a moment. Ah, yes, indeed. What it is to be something or other. I was going to say older, but I'm giving up beating myself up about my age. My little lady was talking to me the other day, and she said, you gotta let that go. And so I'm doing that. I'm doing that as we speak. I'm in it right as we speak. Welcome to the show, everyone. You listen to the Celtic Coach radio show here on KOWS.FM, on the website, the wacky and wonderful World Wide Web at KOWS.FM. F for Frank and M for Matilda. Yes, that is the only special effects that you're ever going to hear on the show, unless something new comes to me. But right now, that's it. And I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it's meant to be a cow. Sounds more like a sheep. Could be a duck with a very cowish voice. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot more going on in those sound effects than you could possibly think about. If you are listening on your radio in the car or on your UFO out there in the cosmos somewhere, you'll pick us up at 92.5 FM on the dial. All right, we are the voice of West Sonoma County, and apparently the word around the universe is that this is the best gosh darn radio station in the cosmos. Well, I may be stretching it with the cosmos, but definitely the word around town is the best radio station in the solar system. So that's pretty good. I mean, I think we're doing a good job here at KOWS if we got that kind of stamp of approval from the different extraterrestrial races out there. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I hope you are too. All right, let's jump into enough of this nonsense, Dermot. Would you get on with the show, lad? All right, what have we got for you this week? Pretty excited about this show, actually. It was something that I heard. I don't know where I heard this, but the phrase was, let go or be dragged. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's a great title for a show. Now, I have no idea what it means, but it's a great title for a show. So I sat down this morning and I put together a show just from me to you. Yes, a happy belated Valentine's gift for all the men and ladies out there listening in. And I know they're from all over the planet listening in today, and even maybe on Mars and Jupiter. That's just the word I heard. It was in the paper. So welcome to all you terrestrials and extraterrestrials, non-terrestrials, and extraterrestrials. That's for the ones who live outside of our solar system. Let go or be dragged. Now, what does that mean? It sounds wonderful. Well, I think it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But let me take a sup of tea here, and then I'll tell you what I think it means to me. Gotta love a cup of tea. Everything is better with tea. I don't care what it is. Marital breakdown, you lost your job, you lost a limb, the car blew up, somebody stole your dog. It just seems to be better with a cup of tea. I don't explain it. I can't explain it. I probably don't have the cell brains or the brain cells to explain it, but I know it just feels better. All right. Let go or be dragged. So here we go. We're going to break this down into three. I'm going to keep it as simple as possible because I'm a simpleton at heart. Do you know? Not in my brain of thinking. I am not simple. There's a whole world going on in there that I get lost in about every hour. But in my heart, I'm pretty simple. Feed me, and feed me. That's pretty all I need from the heart. The mind thinks it needs a million things to be happy. Isn't that funny? Let go or be dragged. We're going to be talking today about three aspects of that statement. Let go or be dragged. You see, look, in life, for some darn reason, I don't know what it is, we go through life in two ways. We go through life kicking or screaming, right? Or another way of saying that, being dragged. Or we go through life where everything is just about, oh, I'm just going to let go and whatever happens, happens, and I'm spiritual and it's all good, and I'm poor, I'm living in a caravan down by the river, and I have no friends, but everything is just wonderful. And then there's the in-between, where sometimes we drag ourselves so much through the mud. It's like holding on to a racehorse that's on steroids, and he's flying through life, or flying through the zone of life, or the lane of life, or the highway of life, or whatever you want to call that thing. And he's on steroids, and he's flying, and you're holding on to him, thinking that if you hold on to him long enough, you'll get to your destination more quickly. Now, that is quite possible if you're wanting to get to the other end of the lane. However, the ride is horrible. So then you get the idea, you know what, I'm going to let go of the horse. And you let go of the horse, and you dust yourself off, and you stand up, and you think, oh, well, what do I do now? Well, maybe for a moment or a day, I'll just do nothing, because I'm really tired holding on to the horse. So I think I'm just going to let go of the horse and see what happens. And as the day progresses, things start to happen. You start to relax. You start to get a little more calmness. You start to kind of trust that holding on to that horse on steroids might not be the best way to move through life. That gripping onto everything that you possibly can in order to be happy might not. For some people it is. But for most of us, it's not the best way to get through life. Right? Some of us are trying to get through life. And others are just getting into life and having a good time. So there's this dance we do between letting go and being dragged and let go. And usually it's the being dragged comes first. Now, I don't know why that is. Like, I think to myself, well, it probably makes better sense, Dermot, for you to let go than be dragged. Let go and let life carry you. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have goals and intentions and things we want to do and show up for all the things that show up in life. Absolutely. All of that's in there. But the question really is, how are we showing up for what shows up in life? Are we trying to get through it, or do we get into it? Are we being dragged through it? Are we allowing ourselves to get into it and move through it? Are we allowing ourselves to let go of the horse, knowing that the horse has got his own speed and he's going to do his own thing, life? And if we can kind of just stay in that, then magic happens. You know, it's interesting. We talk about stress, but so many, but I'm a professional life coach. And yes, I am a professional, not one of these weekend warriors. I've actually put in a lot of hours into coaching and a lot of training and a lot of money and energy and crying and sobs and emotional disbelief and everything else, to become a professional coach. And I train life coaches. And one of the things that a lot of my clients come to me with is around stress, and also a mentor for life coaches. So they'll call me, they're stressed out, they had a bad session and they didn't know what they did wrong and blah, blah, blah. And they have all this stress and anxiety around what they should have done, could have done, would have done, you know, yada, yada, you fill in the blanks. And I explained to them that, look, the reason you're stressed is really simple. The reason that you're more anxious than you need to be, in fact, we don't need to be anxious at all, now that I say it, is that your thinking, your brain, your mind, your thought process is going faster than the speed of life. And that's what stress is. Like, life potters along here. Like life, you know, it potters along at about 5 miles an hour. But then we come along with our Russian racehorse on steroids, and we think that we want to get quicker than life. We want to outsmart life. We want to get there to the end before life gets there. And invariably, of course, what happens is that we get stressed, right? Because our thinking is going faster than the speed of life. Our thinking is 100 miles an hour. Life is at 5 or whatever. Whatever you think. Maybe it's 7. I'm not sure. I haven't actually tested the speed of life, but it's somewhere between 5 and 8 miles per hour. And I explain this to my clients because it helps them to just kind of settle down a bit. So now let's bring this into our conversation today. We can think our way through life, or we can allow ourselves to ponder through life. Allow ourselves to be at 5 miles an hour, life speed, instead of 110 miles an hour, which is our thinking, right? We can do either one. Like the option is there. You know what I mean? The option is there for us to do either. And now for some crazy reason, I don't know why, but we decide to take the second option, the first option, which is to think our way through life, is to drag our thinking, drag ourselves, drag our worries, drag our anxiousness, drag our bodies, drag our desires, our intentions, our results, things that we want through life, scraping them off the bottom of life. Right? Now, there's a better way. When we look at the difference between thinking and pondering, it's the difference between, do you want more information or would you like to have an insight around something? Have you ever had an insight around something where you didn't have to push yourself into it? You had that insight. Oh, wow, this is the next step. This is the best thing that I can do in the moment. And by the way, everyone's always making the best possible choice in the moment. If you don't believe me, just go and listen to last week's show. I did a whole show about it. It's true. It's like gravity. It works whether you're an Irishman, whether you're a Scotsman, or whether you're an Englishman. Are you sure about that, Dermot? I'm very sure about that, Paddy. Very sure about that indeed. Now, do you want to go through life procrastinating or being inspired? Do you want to go through life, ladies and gentlemen, pushing your way through life or being present with what shows up in your life? Now, whether that's pain, joy, peace, love, a bad neighbour, a bite on the leg, a kick in the arse, whatever it might be. Do you want to live your life in the known, which is what you call thinking yourself into the known, which it's not actually possible because your thinking is just your thinking. Your thinking is not a fact. Your emotions that come from your thinking, right? We live in the feeling of our thinking. The feeling comes from a thought that you think in the moment. And the thought is nothing more than you put two thoughts together, you got thinking. Right? One thought and one thought equals thinking. Now, do you want to live your life in the known or the unknown? The known is always is the pushing part. The unknown is the letting the go part. Do you want to live your life in knowing, thinking that you know what's going to happen, and knowing that if I do this, I'll get this, and if I do that, I'll get that? Does that ever work? Sometimes. Or do you want to see your way through life? Which is another way of saying letting go and seeing what shows up. See, here's the thing between thinking and pondering, everyone. We think that if we don't think ourselves into a solution, if we don't think our way out of a problem, if we don't think ourselves into the next step, if we don't think ourselves into the future, it's not going to happen. It's not going to get done. We have to do it all. And what I'm starting to see about my own life is that if the next step, if if it doesn't look simple, or if the next step is not clear in front of me, then I'm not seeing that next step clearly. In other words, if it doesn't look simple, I'm not seeing it clearly. We use our thinking to create so much confusion around whatever it is, you fill in the blanks. Projects, people, places, things you want to do. Right? Things you gotta habits, addictions, beliefs, all of that stuff. And we think that if I can think myself out of this, and have you ever noticed you can't think yourself out of a feeling? Because if thought creates a feeling, then you can't really think your way out of the feeling. Now what you can do with the feeling, which is, it's kind of common sense, is just feel the feeling. What, Dermot? Feel the feeling? That sounds crazy and too simple. Yeah, it is. That's why we don't do it. Right? Just feel the feeling. If you're feeling fear, allow yourself to feel the fear and go and do whatever it is you want to do. Right? You've heard the old Nike thing, just do it. Well, I'll add a little bit to that. If you're feeling the feeling, just do it. If you're not feeling the feeling, just do it. If you know what to do, just do it. If you don't know what to do, don't do it. If you're clear that this is the next step, take it. If you're not clear that this is not the next step, or this may be the next step, wait. Because a lot of the times we're looking for the information, we're thinking, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with thinking, by the way. We all do it. You do it, the English do it, the Irish do it, the Americans do it, the Turkish do it, the Hungarians do it, the Swedish do it. For God's sakes, Dermot, even the bloody Scottish do it. We all think. That's just a human thing. But when we can start to take a step back from our forward thinking, our draggedness, our pushiness, our forcefulness, our wanting to be okayness, and take a step back, just one small step. And by the way, everyone, I did a whole show on this last week. You don't even need to take a step back. All you need to do is just be willing to do that. Are you willing to take a step back? Are you willing to see something different? Are you willing to do something different so that you can get a different result? Are you willing to be okay with not getting it right? Are you willing to be okay with not having the right answer? Are you willing to be okay with not having an answer in this moment? Maybe you're dealing with something in your life, and you cannot rest until you get an answer. In that moment, in this moment, everyone, I invite you to be willing to put it down and to see what new comes up. Because here's the fascinating thing. We're constantly telling ourselves what we don't want. We're constantly pushing against things. We're constantly allowing our thinking to drag us through the mud. Like our thoughts. If you listen to your thoughts, they get a voice. And that voice tells you what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, what you ought to do, what you must do, what you need to do, what you could have been doing, what you would have been doing, what you have to do. All right? When we listen to that voice in our head, that thinking in our head, it turns into, okay, let me tell you what we're going to do here. I want you to keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you get a headache, and then relax and let go and see what shows up. Stop trying, everyone. Here's an invitation for you, and it sounds a bit parental. I know. Stop trying to get rid of that which you don't want. Because every time you try to get rid of that which you don't want, you give it more attention and you get more of the same. Right? You've heard the old thing of what you resist persists. So true. It's so true. Well, Dermot, that all sounds great, darling. But if I stop trying to get rid of that which I don't want, then what should I be doing with it? That's a great question. I'm glad you asked. English person that I've never seen in my life before and apparently just jumped into the radio call. You do nothing with it. If you don't know what to do, do nothing. If you're a crane driver, let's say you're one of those massive big crane drivers, all right, and you're building a building, and you're sitting there, and no one has told you anything to do, would you be inclined to start up the crane and grab a few boxes and just start moving them around? Would you be inclined to pull up a few cement mixers and move them to the other side of the building? You wouldn't. But apparently we do that in our lives. We don't know what to do, but so we force something into place. We force something into motion. Emotion, energy in motion. Give you an example. I was in 2009. I did a peace walk across the country called the Gandhi Peace Walk. And stay tuned. I'm still working on the book. It'll be out soon. Called Gandhi Rolling Stones: An Irish Spiritual Tale. And now, not tale in the terms of behind you, but T-A-L-E. I know you knew that, but I thought there might have been a joke in there, but apparently there wasn't. Okay, needs some work. I know. And walking across America, and I'm walking through the panhandle of Texas. And I am just berating myself for being an absolute failure. It's hot. I'm hating the walk. I want to stop. Because walking from LA to Washington, D.C., it's a long way. It took me 3,347 miles. 6 pairs of shoes, 17 months. And a lot of blister cream. But that's a whole nother chapter. And I was berating myself so much in my brain. My thinking was like on overload. And I was trying to come up, what's the next step? What's the next thing I need to do here? What's the next thing even though I was putting my foot in front of I was putting my foot in front of the next one and moving forward. Because that's all that occurred to me to do. But I had money worries, and I had spent all my money, and we weren't getting any money to support the walk. And the radio stations that I had contacted hadn't contacted me back. And one of the guys that I was working with wasn't available to shoot the video, and all of these different things. And it really, I got so stuck in my head. There was no pondering. It was all forward thinking. There was no insight. It was all pushing to get information, which, by the way, is what will cause you stress and anxiety. It's trying to force a solution. Do you ever notice when you force a solution, you create more problems? I don't know why that is. And I decided to take a break. It was about the middle of the day, and it was really hot. If you've ever been to the panhandle of Texas in summer, it's hot, you know? It's hot. H-O-T with a capital H. And, hang on, let me take some tea here. And I sat down outside this I collapsed down outside this old church. And I wasn't in a let-going mood. I have to be honest with you now. I was definitely being dragged, right? Through, and this was only less than halfway through the walk, and I was already exhausted. And I was sitting there, and I was thinking about my predicament, and I was just really taking out the judgment hammer and giving myself a whack every about 5 seconds. And I said, Dermot, if you don't learn to let go here, and not be stressed and worried about every mile of this walk, which is what I was doing. And I wasn't enjoying any of it. You ever noticed that? Life is a journey, and if you're just constantly stressing, you don't enjoy the journey. And I sat down and I fell asleep outside this old church because it was in the shade. And I woke up about, I don't know, it could an hour or two later. And I got up and I said, okay, let me get back on the road. And I turned around to have a look at the church, you know, just the door where I was, it was closed, you know, it wasn't Sunday. Who the hell's the guy sitting at the church? And I turned around, and on the door of the church was this little placard, a little sign. And it said, when nothing is sure, everything is possible. When nothing is sure, everything is possible. Now, in that moment, it hit me like a bad check. It hit me like a blister. That I had been pushing, and being dragged through every day of the walk. And it was time to let go. And that didn't mean that I just sat there and did nothing let go. But it meant that I started to notice when I was getting caught up in my thinking, that was just my thinking, that was not something that was really helping me. And what I realized from that was that when I could back off, just even willing to just back off a little bit, every time I caught myself up in my thinking, I don't have to do anything with it. Like try talking to a barking dog. Not going to do anything. You just got to leave the dog alone, and eventually the dog calms down. Your thinking is the same way. You don't have to bark at it. You don't even have to say, thank you very much for sharing, which I used to do for years. Thank you, thinking, for sharing. Because if you said that to a dog, hey, thanks for sharing, the dog is going to look at you and go, what the hell is that guy on? And keep barking at you. But when you walk away from the dog is like, oh, there's nothing to bark at, so I'm just going to go take a nap. And your thinking is like that. Your thinking is like a barking dog. You can call it Rolf. Rolf. Right? Rolf. Oh my God, the show's gone downhill already. You can call it Rolf. Right? The barking dog. Right? Or Rolf, the homeless guy that lives in your head and never leaves because it's warm and gooey and you feed it sugar every now and then. Right? And I started to realize that when nothing is sure, everything is possible. When I don't put my thinking at such a level that I need to be shored up that every day is going to go according to plan, then new things started to happen. I started relaxing, which was a good thing. I started to get more energy because I wasn't pushing. I started to relax more. And invariably, I started getting invites to do radio talks and talks at newspapers and different things. Now, did it all go to plan? No, it didn't go all to plan. It went to hell most of the time. But in the days that it did, I was okay with it. Not 100%, but I was much more okay with the fact that I was just allowing, that I was letting go of my agenda so that life could bring its own agenda to the table. And I didn't need to be dragged through it, which is what I was doing through my thinking. You know, for years, we're going to go for a break here in a second, but for years, I used to do goal setting. Every year I'd sit down and I'd do goal setting. Now, there's nothing wrong with goal setting. But what I'm starting to realize about goal setting is this, especially the goal setting where I'm attached to a result. When I get that result, I will be successful. When I get that result, my life will be better. When I get that result, things are going to be even more joyful, or whatever it might be. I'm not going to be so sad. Goal setting is a little bit like this. It's like a delicious meal that you cook up, and then you throw it out in front of you, and then you chase after it, waiting to get it, to consume it. And when you do, that's when you'll be happy. But the journey along the way is all about getting the delicious meal. And we forget to eat. We forget to enjoy the meals along the way. So I have a new appreciation and relationship with goal setting. I still set goals. However, I'm more open to showing up each day and seeing what part of that delicious meal wants to be cooked today. I'm more willing and open to show up and find out what part of that delicious meal, what are some of the ingredients of it, need to be created today, as opposed to waiting to be happy when I get to the meal. If you've just joined us, welcome everyone. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. We'll be right back, everyone. We're going to play a little bit of the old happy-go-lucky music. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. No, seriously, we will. We'll be right back. Just dance around the living room if you can for the next 60 seconds with some good old-fashioned happy Irish music. All right, welcome back, everyone. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. We're talking today, and by the way, if you're in your car today, if you're flying around the universe in your car or your spaceship, you'll catch us on the dial at 92.5 FM Occidental. F for Frank, M for Matilda. And we're here every Friday, the Celtic Coach radio show from 1 to 3. Our content and our interviews are from 1:30 to 2:30. Stay tuned. Got lots of great interviews coming up over the next few months. Oh, some really wonderful speakers. If you want to know more, you want to pick up a copy of today's show, you can go to thecelticcoach.com, CELTIC, thecelticcoach.com. And if you're up for some coaching, if you'd like to transform your entire life, I highly encourage you to jump on the boat of coaching because it's one of the things I love to do. And I think everyone should have a coach. By the way, I'm not selling in any way, shape, or form, but I really do. I think everyone should have a coach. It's a wonderful profession. So if you're dealing with some stuff out there, or hey, you just want to look at your life and maybe there's some things in your life that you want to make better. Maybe there's some things in your life that you'd like to give more attention to. Maybe there's some things in your life that are not going as well as you would like them to go. Give me a call. And at thecelticcoach.com, you can connect through the website, and I'll be happy to talk to you. All right, our subject today is let go or be dragged. Now, we talked a little the difference between thinking and pondering. Pondering is where you sit down, relax, and you let some new ideas, perspectives, awarenesses, discovery come to you. Thinking about the problem is simply spinning your wheel and trying to get the same old problem to look new. Not possible. Got to be able to step outside the problem and look at it from a different angle, a different view. Inside, from outside, from 50 feet away, whatever it might be. The simple fact of just putting your feet on the ground, taking a breath, and relaxing your body, and asking, hey, some new thought, some new ideas to come to you, is probably one of the best things I've found in terms of creating solutions for any problem that I might have in my life. Thinking about something usually, or overthinking, something usually creates more overthinking. Now, here's something that I think you guys will enjoy. Do you ever notice that when you're not thinking about a negative thing, that it isn't there? Like, take a negative belief that you have in your life. I'm not good enough. I'm not skilled enough. I'm not confident enough. I'm not courageous enough. I'm not manly enough. I don't have the time. I don't have the energy. I don't have the money. Somebody like me can't do that. Whatever it is. Take that thought for a moment, that thinking that you have about whatever that is. That negative behavior, belief, or pattern, action. And ask yourself, when you're not thinking about it, is it a problem? That was a real question, by the way. When you're not thinking about it, is it a problem? The answer is obvious, isn't it? No, it's not. It's only when you start thinking about it. Maybe you're thinking that you don't have that, or maybe you're thinking you're not good enough to do that, create that, see that, feel that, experience that, be that, do that. You know, there was a kid at school, and the teacher used to tell him all the time, do that, do that, do that. He used to be telling him to do stuff all the time. Kid used to walk away from school every day thinking his name was Doodah. He went home, he says, what did the teacher talk to you about today? He just kept calling me Doodah. All of your negative thinking, your negative beliefs, is noise in your head. Now, that's a strong statement. It's a bold statement to make, I know. But I am a bold person. And by the way, speaking of bold, Seamus isn't here yet. That's our house leprechaun who does the top 11 list. He's not here yet. But we still got 24 minutes in the show, so anything could happen. But when he comes in, he's going to be doing the top 11 things list. Top 11 things you don't need to know about being a man. So hopefully, he emailed me yesterday and said he'd be doing it. So hope to God he shows up. He's our house leprechaun, and quite a funny man, quite a funny leprechaun. He's not a man, he's a leprechaun. But we'll see how funny he is today. All right. So when you're not thinking about a problem, is it a problem? When you're not thinking about your limiting beliefs, are they a problem? Are they limiting beliefs? The answer is no. Now that's fascinating to me to think about, to ponder. Because it means that the only time that something is a problem was when I think it's a problem. Like try this question on. Take a negative belief that you have about yourself, right? Whatever it might be. I'm horrible at timekeeping. I'm a procrastinator. I'm not good enough. You know, I'm not skinny enough. I'm not big enough. Whatever it is. And where would you be if you didn't have that thinking about it? How would you feel about yourself if you didn't have that thinking about it? I'm depressed. Now, I know I've worked at a homeless shelter for 2 years. I know that there are people that are clinically, physiologically depressed. I get that. I'm not speaking to you guys. I'm speaking to the rest of you men and women out there, ladies and gentlemen, that from time to time you get depressed. And by the way, nothing wrong with it. We all do. I do. We all get depressed. That is part of the human experience. Nothing wrong with it. But when we stay in bed for a week, or we allow our thoughts to tell us that we are depressed, that I am depressed, meaning my identity is depression, who I am is depressed. Not true. Not true. Couldn't be true. If we base the premise on you are a spiritual being having a human experience, then yes, you will feel depression. No question about that. You will feel happy. You will feel sad. And how are feelings created? Through our thinking. We have a thought. It creates a feeling. That feeling creates an experience. That experience we call our lives. We call our limiting beliefs. We call our positive beliefs. We call our negative behaviors. We call that our positive behaviors. But who would you be without your negative thinking? Do you ever see someone on the street like a homeless person, and you just run from them. Now, who would that homeless person be if you weren't thinking about them as a homeless person? If you just saw them as a human being, which in fact is what they are, right? We are physical beings. We're spiritual, but we're in these bodies. We're physical beings. Who would that person be to you if you just saw if you saw that person as a human, without all your thinking and judgments and opinions and everything else about them? It's fascinating to think about, isn't it? I think I'm being a bit parental today. I can kind of hear it in my tone. You see, I'm already self-judging myself. I'm already thinking, am I too harsh today? Am I too much? But here's the thing about our thinking. It's like radio noise. All right? I said all of your negative thinking, your negative beliefs, they're just noise in your head. It's like you have a big radio in your head instead of me at the radio station talking to your head through a microphone. But you have a big radio station in your head, and it's set on the dial of noise. Right? You know, you guys know what a radio dial is, right? How far am I going back now, Dermot? A radio dial, right? Those big knobs that you had on the radios. Remember radios? Yeah. And you had to tune it. And when you turn the knob, if you didn't get to the station, before you get to the station, there's a lot of just noise. Right? We could call that your thinking. But then you get to the radio station and it's clear, and you're like, oh, whew. And you don't touch the dial, do you? You're like, oh, it's clear. I hear the sounds of the 80s, whatever it might be. I hear it clearly. I'm not going to touch the dial. One of the reasons we don't get to that clear signal is we're constantly turning the dial through our thinking. And we don't just let go of the dial for a moment to see what is actually there. Maybe we've passed a clear station. We keep turning the dial, turning it. Kind of like when you're sitting at home with the remote and you're just flicking through the stations. You're not really even stopping at them. You're just from. There's nothing on. 500 million stations and nothing on. Except for maybe Skippy the Kangaroo. Which was a great show back in the 80s, by the way. But a kangaroo who used to do very cool things. I never saw him cook a meal, though. But he did some other cool things, like save children from burning houses and, stuff like that. Chase down robbers and punch them. Very cool kangaroo. Skippy was his name. Skippy the bush kangaroo. All right. So we got this radio in our head. That's our thinking. Now, we can turn the dial, which means we can ponder, to the clear station and hear the actual signal that's coming through, which is very clear. We can let go of the dial and not drag ourselves through the station, through the different programs. And we can set the dial on a station and then step back and see what we hear, see what the message is. In the same way that we can either think our way through a problem or we can take a step back and ponder our way through a problem. Most, if not all of your negative thinking, actually all of it, your negative beliefs is noise in your head. Where would you be? Where would that negative belief, that negative thinking about yourself be? Where is it when you're not thinking about it? It's not a problem, is it? It's not even there. It's only when you put attention on it. Again, stop trying to get rid of that which you don't want because you'll just give it more attention. One day there was a dog outside our window, the neighbor's dog, and he was barking his head off. And I stuck my head out the bathroom window and I started shouting at the dog. And did the dog say, hey, really sorry to be barking right now. I'm really sorry about that. I saw some people at the gate, and then I saw a few cars going by, and I kind of felt the need to bark at them to kind of keep myself safe. But I'm really sorry. I can see that you're having your shower there, and I hope the water's hot for you, and that you have some nice clean towels. And listen, I just want to say, from this dog here at your fence, I just want to say I'm sorry. Thanks very much for shouting at me, because you've made me realize that I don't need to be barking. That's just like a fear thing. It's just like a belief I have about myself that, that I bark at people when really I just need to hug them and love them. So thank you for barking right back at me. Appreciate it. I'm going to go now and lick something. I'll see you later. It doesn't happen that way, does it? That was a long monologue, I know. Right? The dog started barking even louder as I was shouting at him. And then I left him alone for 5 minutes, and he walked away and went and licked something, which we won't get into right now. He licked the bone, right? Now, where was I going with all that? So, our negative thinking is like that. Our negative thinking is like the barking dog in your head. Think about it that way. You start barking at the dog, it gets louder. When you start thinking about your thinking, it gets louder. But if you just leave it alone, you see, the default in the dog is that once he's got nothing to bark at, he's going to calm down. The default that's in us is the same way, everyone. That when you leave your thinking alone, you don't have to change your thinking, reframe it, transform it, transmutate it, trans this, hyper that, figure it out. Just leave it alone. Leave the dog alone, and the dog will calm down. It's built into our system. The default mechanism is the quiet dog in our system. We will quieten down. Now, I've just seen Seamus, it's 17 minutes after 2, and you were supposed to be here 17 minutes ago. What's going on, Seamus? Sir Jesus, Dermot, no. Wouldn't I tell you this or tell you that? But I won't tell you anything because I've got nothing to say. Seamus, I have no idea what that even means. It's 2:17, Seamus. Get that leprechaun behind of yours over here so we can finish it. I got a few more minutes in the show here, Seamus, but you got to do your. Are you doing anything today with your life? Oh, yes, I am now, Dermot. I have my list. It's all good. You just you let go there. It sounds like you're kind of dragging yourself around. You're like that song. I'm just dragging myself around because I'm the Celtic coach and I apparently know everything. Seamus, get over here. All right, Seamus. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me, I'm going to get my tea out of the way. And of course, you want to sit here, don't you? Well, where else would I like to sit now? All right, well, Seamus, come on over here now. All right, hang on, everyone. We're gonna bring Seamus on. While Seamus is coming in, let's do the we'll do the happy music. Come on, Seamus. Now we got 12 minutes in the show, so stop messing around. All right, come on over here. Talking and your nonsense. Hello everyone and welcome. Seamus O'Flaherty here with the top 11 list on the Celtic Coach radio show. He's here and I'm here I'm not here from 1 to 3. I'm kind of, I'd be here from like 2:15 to 2:25, you know, because I have a life. I have other things to do, you know. Seamus, get on with it. Well, I'm getting on with it now. You get on with it too there now. You let go, you'll be, or I'll drag you around the place. All right, you're listening to the Celtic Coast radio show, where science, spirituality, and self-discovery, well, they just dance, they hug, they kiss, they make love. They do all those things that you're not supposed to do on the radio. All right, top 11 things you do not need to know about being a man. Now, I don't know much about being a man because I'm a leprechaun. But I'm going to tell you top 11 things that you do not need to know. I mean, you don't need to know these things. I'm just sharing them to you because it's my job. All right, here we go. Top 11 things you don't need to know about being a man. Number 11. The first rule to being a man is to know that the rest of your life will be spent fixing things. Number 10. A man is like a good bottle of wine. He can make you forget everything. Oh, Jesus, he can. Indeed he can. Number 9. When a woman gets a cold, she goes to work with the sniffle. When a man gets a cold, he goes to bed for about 3 days and whines and whines and whines and whines. Number 8. There's a name for men who make jokes about women. Single. Number 7. Men love to give ladies gifts. This is true. Just look at Santa Claus. Number 6. Well, here's a question for you now. Why is it, and I was talking to the lady about this the other night, why is it that man grunting, you know, we do the male grunting thing, why is that not an acceptable form of communication? Don't understand it myself. I don't understand it myself. Ladies, number 5. You still think there are no good men left in the world? Well, no, let me tell you. By 2020, China, yes, that country over there, could have between 30 and 40 million men looking for wives. So don't let me hear any of saying there's no good men left in the world. There's 40 million of them over there in China. Number 4. Ladies, the best way to get your man to take out the garbage, or in fact, to get him to do anything, is suggest that he's too old. And by Jesus, he'll be out there like Superman. Well, maybe an older version, but, you know, you get the idea. Number 3. Ladies, it's true. I have to tell you it's true. And I say it's true with a capital T. Men would rather take a bullet than to talk about their feelings. Yes, it's true. Number 2. It must have been a woman who invented the instant replay to help men remember what just happened. Now, I was thinking about that last night, and I thought to myself, no. Wouldn't it be great? Like, wouldn't it, when you think about it? Wouldn't it be great if we had an instant replay for life? So, like, you're at home, you've had an argument with the missus. Then after the argument, you know, about 6 days later, when everything calms down, you could sit down on the couch. You could put on the instant replay of the argument. And then you could, you know, snuggle up and have a cup of tea and a biscuit and a cookie or whatever, you know, some yogurt, whatever it is you want, some flowers and some clean socks and underwear. And just snuggle up to your missus. And you could watch the instant replay and decide who actually won the argument. Think about it, ladies. Think about it. All right. Top 11 things you absolutely do not need to know about a man. The number 1 thing you absolutely do not need to know about being a man is this. Apparently, ladies, they did a study in China, the 40 million men that are single. They did a study to find out, well, now, how would I get me a wife? Like in America. How would I get a wife? What would I want to do here? No, to get a wife. And what they found was, this is the study they found. They found that men who have pierced ears, you know, like earrings on their ears, and tattoos, and who have gone to war, are better equipped for marriage because they've experienced pain and they know how to buy jewellery. Now, no word of a lie on that one, ladies. Anyway, you're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show. My name is Seamus O'Shaughnessy, and that, my dear listeners, is no Blarney.
Our motive.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Pretty good, Seamus. Pretty good. I wouldn't say it's your best one, Seamus, but it was pretty good. Well, it was good enough, Dermot. If it's good enough for me and it's good enough for the wife, then it's good enough for you and it's good enough for life. And no extra charge because that rhymed. Thanks, Seamus. That I enjoyed the rhyme. Not. All right, everyone. You're listening to the Celtic Coach radio show, where I've totally messed that up. Where science, spirituality, and self-discovery meet. All right, welcome back, everyone. We're going to wrap up our show today. We're talking about letting go or be dragged. Now, we talked a little bit today, everyone. As we wrap up our show, just start to kind of ponder some of these things. That every block that you think that you have is really just your thinking. It's just your thinking telling you that you have a block. Now, that doesn't mean to berate yourself every time you think you have a block, or you get a block, or your disbelief, or you have a limiting belief, or whatever it might be. It's just a way for you to start to understand that there's nothing going on but your thinking. And when your thinking is not going on, then you're more present, you're more in touch with life in the moment. Like we think ourselves out of the moment. Now, there's nothing wrong. I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong with thinking today. Thinking is a part of the human condition. It's a part of nature. It's a part of what we do. But when we can take a little more time to ponder a little more and think a little bit less. Now, you don't have to frame that or reframe that or say, okay, I got to think more positive. I got to think less. It's just like the barking dog. When I stopped barking at that dog, when I stopped shouting at the dog relaxed and went away. In the same way that when we stop trying to drag ourselves through life, when we start to realize how much pushing and forcing we are doing, trying to be better, trying to be bigger, trying to be more successful, trying to be more courageous, more confident, more this, more that. When we can just start to be, even just to be willing to start to let go of that, something magical happens. Something magical happens. We start to connect with this wisdom, this innate intelligence, this God within, which is really a beautiful, beautiful way to live. It's really the way to live. Now, when we can start to connect to that, and we can start to see that in reality our life is governed by that innate intelligence, by that wisdom. When we can start to feel a little bit of that presence in our everyday life, it changes things. It changes things. Don't ask me how it does, but it does. So take more time to ponder in your life. Take a moment to have a cup of tea, sit down, and just allow yourself to get a little quiet. And ask yourself some questions. Where would I be without my thinking? What is it I want to create in my life, even though my negative beliefs or thoughts tell me I can't? What if I was to put them on pause for a moment? What would be possible for me to create? What would be a something really wonderful to experience in my life? If I was to put all my beliefs about myself, my negative beliefs on hold, what would be possible for me today? What's one small step that I could take today to create more of what I want? Just suppose for today, I could see the next step. What would the next step in this project be? What would be the next common sense, practical step? You see, we don't need to see the whole road from here to... I didn't need to see the whole road from LA to DC. I thought I did. I just needed to put my foot in front of the next one. Like if you're driving to New York in the dark, all you got to see is about 20 feet of headlight in front of you. And you will get there. So take some time to ponder this week. Take some time to just relax. You owe it to yourself. We get one life. Now you might have many incarnations. But you've got one life as yourself. And my invitation, my encouragement to you is to let go the horse. To let go of this idea that you have got to force your way through life. That you got to push your way through life. That unless you do it, unless it's your highway or your my way, that the highway's not going to get built. And even just be willing for a day to let go of that idea and see how you feel about it and see what shows up in your life. Magical things can happen for you. And I say that because I see it in my own life. When nothing is sure, everything is possible. When nothing is being pushed, the doors of possibility are open. So take some time to ponder this week. And to notice when you are pushing. And how will you notice? Really simple. You will feel it. You'll feel it as stress, as anxiety, as pain. On any and all of that stuff, you'll know that, hey, you're pushing right now. You're being dragged. And when we let go, the dragging stops. When we let go, the horse does its own thing and we just notice it. And you don't even need to let go. Just be willing for today to try something different, to do something different, to be something different, to create something different, to see something different, to hear something different, to show up a little bit differently. Just be willing to do that, to try stuff. This whole world is an experiment in trying stuff. So just show up today in whatever way you can and try some stuff and see what happens. You don't have to hold on to the horse, everyone, to have a great ride in life. You can let go and have an even greater ride with a whole lot less pain. Until the next time, think big, have fun, stay curious. I'm the Celtic Coach, everyone, and that, my dear listeners, is no blarney.